بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربي زدني علما اللهم فقهنا في الدين اللهم إني أسألك علما نافعا وعملا متقبلا ورزقا طيبا اللهم اهدي قلبي وسدد لساني واسلل سخيمة قلبي آمين يا رب العالمين. We will continue our today's lesson. And before that, inshallah, we will review the previous ayat. These specifically were about salah. And as we were learning the ayat about talaq, nikah, and talaq, and in between, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought the ayah about prayer, salah. And what was the connection again that we discussed? So between all of these rulings and these dealings of people and salah salah is the anchor of every kind of uh, any action that happens in a person's life, any situation that occurs in a person's life, the thing that keeps them anchored is salah. Salah is the ultimate connection between the abd and the Rabb, right? The servant and his Lord. And any situation that occurs in a person's life, ups and downs, the greatest way of calling upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is their salah, right? So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ayah number 238. حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. Observe the five obligatory prayers. Okay, and we discussed in detail what does حافظوا mean, right? حفاظة is to protect. And to protect means to maintain the obligatory, the fourth prayer. And one of the things that help protect the fourth prayer is, for example, the time of salah, then the place of salah, in meaning where do you turn to when you are praying, meaning the qibla, then the tahara, the outside, the external state of a person, right? The purification that a person is cleansed, has done their ghusl or wudu, okay? And then this is all comes under the external factors related to the salah. And then also externally includes that the person is praying properly. It's important to educate ourselves in terms of how to pray. In fact, when a person reverts to Islam, the first thing that they're taught is salah, right? That's their, because again, the first thing that is taught, they're not given different courses and stuff. The first course is about salah because that's the ultimate connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So in terms of knowing the steps of salah and the proper steps of salah, like masnoon, according to the sunnah. Okay, then and the way we and the person should not only know the steps but understand the steps and understand how to perform them. And the best way is to learn with a teacher. The teacher teaches properly each and every step. Okay, so the steps of salah and how they are prayed and what is recited in each step, even that is important. And even better is to understand the meaning of salah because that will help a person. So in terms of protection of salah also includes the khushu' in salah, meaning the focus or humility in salah. It's not in only it's not only a physical exercise or physical actions, but it has a meaning. How do you connect with Allah? The only way to connect is to understand also what you're saying, right? What happens when a person says, what is the meaning? What's the reason when a person raises their hands and says Allahu Akbar, right? So the scholars say that when a person raises their hands and when we go in the step, we go in the state of qiyam, which when person is standing and we throw our hand backwards, right? Allahu Akbar. So what does it mean? The person is throwing away the dunya behind their back, meaning nothing of the dunya should be on a person's mind when they're praying. It's their speech with their Rabb, right? So these understanding of each and every step of salah. What happens in ruku? Ruku is the halfway step halfway, midway between sujood, right? So Allah subhanahu is preparing us, right, physically, mentally, spiritually, to go in sujood. So you're not, a person is not standing and all the way just going down into sujood, but a person is prepared step by step, right? Salah progresses step by step. And when a person goes into sujood is the most humble when a person is in sajda, it's the most humble position a person can take before their Lord. Okay, so all of these things, and of course, there are what happens in tashahud. When person is sitting, what are they reciting? At-tahiyat, all of these. This is important. There is a whole. A person should do course. Inshallah, maybe in the future we can do for us, our sisters here as well. A course or a workshop on salah. But a person should understand, because when a person understands, that's when the khushu comes. Because when you understand what you're saying and the meaning behind, the focus increases more. And specifically, was salat al wusta, and the salah that is in the middle, meaning here it is referring to the Asr prayer. Okay, the Asr prayer. Why specifically? Again, we spoke about the Asr prayer, is because it's not that again that the other salawat are not important. It's because the Asr prayer is when people are generally getting their day wrapped up, their work wrapped up, they're heading back home. So this is a time of, it's a very busy time. And when a person is very engaged in their activities, it's easy for a person to miss the salah. So here last month that is saying that protect your salawat, especially this salah. وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. Sorry. And stand in front of Allah as an obedient servant. Some of the things according to the hadith about the Asr prayer. For example, it is said, the one who misses the Asr prayer deliberately, his deeds will be rendered null and void, meaning all of the deeds that they have performed will become useless. Though another hadith about Prophet said, the one who misses the Asr prayer, it is as if they have lost their family and their property, meaning everything. Missing the Asr prayer is like as if a person lost all of their loved ones and their beloved things that they love in this dunya. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, pray the two cool prayers. What are those two cool prayers? The Asr and the Fajr. Again, these timing of the day. Fajr is when people are getting ready to head to start their day, and Asr is when people are wrapping up their day. So these times of people are very busy. And it's very easy to get caught up in the dunya and forget one's Lord. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding, as a reminder, that a person should, what the day needs to revolve around the prayer times and not the other way around. So the person needs to plan out their day based on their salah. Okay, so all of whatever activities they do, the first thing that should be done is the five prayers. How am I going to juggle if I'm going to the mall? How am I going to pray my Asr prayer if I'm, excuse me, if I'm at the school? I'm going to pray my Dhuhr prayer. So this so forth. So whatever activities we have in the day, we plan it according to keeping your priority should be salah, and everything else is planned according to that. وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ, and stand in front of Allah, meaning, so the main thing about salah is qiyam, standing. It begins with qiyam, right? And this is a rukun, an important rukun of a meaning, a part of salah is standing in salah. And how we should stand in front of Allah, qaniteen, the one who is, so the state of qunut is basically extreme humility, obedience, okay, in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's not just shows in terms of in the humility of the heart is humbled in front of Allah, and the body posture should be as such too. Again, one should remind oneself that who are they standing in front of? And we discussed that previously too. The example when a person stands in front of a very important authority, how is their body language? What is the state of heart? So here we're talking about people who are important. What about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the Lord of the universe? So when a person is connecting, talking and conversing with the Lord of the universe, then their body language, their heart should be deeply immersed, deeply connected, right? And constant, how can a person how can person achieve this state when we constantly remind ourselves, who are we speaking to? Okay, who is Allah? We're trying, remind ourselves that for the our conversation, the salah is a conversation between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That itself will bring a person in a state of humility in front of Allah. Okay, and here next part of the next ayah tells us that if a person is in a different state, for example, if a person is unable to pray properly, meaning their situation is different. Let's say, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ, they are in a state of fear, for example, in a battlefield or in a war, or if they cannot stop, they are on they're traveling, it's dark, and they cannot stop and pray, or they are walking and they feel that there is danger behind and a time of salah is going. What should they do? فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ فَرِجَالًا, then you should pray while you are walking or riding, meaning if someone's in the car, and that's when they can do that as in that state too. So a person, the main thing here is that a person cannot miss their salah, whatever state they're in. If in the state of fear or war, they can pray, and they can pray even walking. And there is salatul, there is a prayer which is salatul khawf, is also prayed during wartime. It's there are different steps of the in detail. It's mentioned in prayers according to sunnah, and also available online if anyone want to know what is the way to pray salatul khawf, like someone's in a battlefield. But even if, let's say, someone is walking and they feel some danger and the time of salah is running, time of salah is going, and they cannot stop and pray, then they can pray while walking. أو ركبانا, and or if they're traveling, they're riding something. For example, if someone's traveling in the plane, so do they miss their salah? No. So in that state, they can pray, okay, while they're in the plane. The idea is not to miss the salah. فإذا أمنتم فاذكروا الله كما so as when you are in a safe position, meaning you're in a stable position, you are a resident, you're at home, you're in a regular state, you're not traveling or you're not in a state of fear, everything is good, then what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala command us? Then remember Allah, do dhikr of Allah. And dhikr is of course done also in the salah, right? Salah is full of zikr. You're reading the surahs, the du'as that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us in the salah. So remember Allah. And what is the way why a person should remember Allah? Kama allamakum ma lam takunu ta'lamun. And and remember Allah for teaching you what you did not know. Do dhikr of Allah, do shukr of Allah. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught us all of this. And not just that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't teach us or tell us to pray. He even gave us the conditions when in certain situation, if a person is unable to do so, then what can they do? Right? So this is for which reason a person needs to be grateful to Allah. Okay, Allah's a person, and what is the way of showing gratitude is zikr, right? You do more dhikr of Allah, your heart is filled with gratitude, Allah's name is on your tongue, and it's physically evident from a person's action. What is the best action again a person can do is salah. So why we should remember Allah, why we should thank Allah is because He gave us the knowledge to do all of these things, right? There are many blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed a person, but one of the greatest blessing is knowledge. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught people, and people, when people had no idea, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us knowledge when we had no idea about deen. And each one of us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us in different avenues, in different made ways. This is only through the tawfiq of Allah that we're able to learn and know all of this. It has nothing to do with us and it has all to do with our Rabb, who is giving each and every one of us an opportunity to learn his words. And for that very reason, a person needs to do the dhikr of Allah. Okay, and also a person should ask for tawfiq for more opportunities to learn his deen, right? Because every moment, every opportunity that we get, it's also possible that it could be gone the next moment. That means a believer has to be in a constant state of asking Allah. Just because we got the opportunity to do once, or one class, or one, so it doesn't mean that it's going to happen for the next week or the next months or the next years. We need the tawfiq. This is the reason when we ask Allah, when we make dua to Allah, we ask Allah to for us to die in the state of iman, to us وَتَوَفَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ, make us die as believers, as Muslims. Why? Because a person, for one moment, they can be connected to Allah, and for the next moment, there is no guarantee. And none of us have guarantee that when we leave this world, are we going to die in a state of a Muslim with Iman? So hence, it's very important to also ask Allah for tawfiq to, and this is why we have this. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was commanded to make this dua, وَقُلْ رَبِّي زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. Oh Allah, say, my Rabb, my Lord, increase me in knowledge. Okay, these are the du'as, and we should say this dua especially when we are learning, and when we are starting any of our courses or classes, so that Allah SWT gives us more tawfiq to do these, to learn this knowledge and to apply this into our action. Okay. The next ayah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ayah number 240. Okay, so going back to the topic of, we were learning about talaq and the mahar for the someone who is the iddah period for the widows, and also the mahar when it comes to someone who has a talaq before the consummation of marriage, before they leave, before they start living. Sometimes there's also cases where people have where two people are married, and before the woman moves into the house of the man, before that there is talaq that happens. So what's the case? How much mahar should be given? We learned these cases previously in the previous ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah. So here Allah's one talking specifically about a widow. Okay, so what is the iddah period of a widow? Iddah period meaning the waiting period after her husband has passed away, and she has to wait until she can marry again. Okay, and this is 4 months and 10 days. So وَالَّذِينَ يَتَوَفَّوْنَ مِنْكُمْ, and those of you who leave behind widows, meaning this is referring to the men. Okay, وَيَذَرُونَ أَزْوَاجًا, and they should do and they should leave for their spouses wasiyatan, a wasiya, okay, a will. Okay, so and what is that will? لأزواجهم متاعا إلى حول غير إخراج, and for them a year's maintenance without forcing them out. Okay, so a bit of context here. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding that before, if a person is nearing, for example, someone is terminally sick, and they and anyways, it does not matter when a person is sick or not. A person should be learned previously too. A person should write their will. Okay, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that the one who the woman who has lost the husband, she can stay in the husband's house for a year, maximum a year. Okay, and also this also refers to another thing. So this ayah number 240, okay, there's certain ayat in the Quran which are called mansukh. Okay, mansukh ayah in English, meaning they're called abrogated. Meaning, what does that mean? Meaning they have this an ayah, a verse has a law given. Okay, and then in the future, okay, so imagine, so to put into context, let's say in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, okay, a certain let's say in the beginning of their prophethood, or in the beginning of moving to Medina, certain law came in the very beginning of Hijrah. Okay, certain law came. Then, after 5 years of hijrah, another law came pertaining to that same situation. Okay, so what will happen is that the new law will be the one that will be followed, and the previous law will be abrogated, meaning it will not be no longer be in effect. Okay, I hope that makes sense. This is called mansukh. There are certain ayahs in the Quran which contain certain laws, okay, where these laws become, they are overwritten, override. So there's an override of these laws. So, and what is this? A person can question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge is all encompassing, meaning He has the knowledge of everything. Then why is that one law is given and that law is changed? It happens so based on the life of the Prophet ﷺ, right? Deen came gradually. Deen came gradually over. The Quran was revealed in over a period of 23 years. And certain ayahs were revealed in the beginning, and or certain laws were revealed in the beginning of his prophethood, and then they were changed as the way the situation of the sahabas and the ummah changed, and those laws were overwritten. So this ayah talks about what used to happen in previous times. Okay, so this what used to happen in previous time was that a widow's iddah in the times of jahiliyyah was 1 year. Okay, a widow's iddah was 1 year in the times of Jahiliyyah. Okay, now when Islam came and the Nubuwah and the prophethood of the Prophet ﷺ happened, okay, now the iddah period was not, and again, we have to understand the ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah, okay, were not revealed like how we see them in the Quran. Some came earlier, some came before, like that. Okay, so what happened was that 4 months and 10 days was not revealed at that time. That is the iddah. It was not changed yet. So instead, the ayah came that because in the times of Jahiliyyah, they used to have 1 year of iddah. So as all Muslims, if a man a woman, a husband passes away and keeping the iddah 1 year, then at least provide them, let them stay in the house of the husband for 1 year. Okay. And then later on, the ayah came that the iddah of a woman who is a widow is only 4 months and 10 days. So this ayah becomes mansukh then, meaning it is no longer applied because the new ayah was revealed, which was talking the iddah period of 4 months and 10 days for a widow. Okay. So here, regardless, here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about that a woman should be provided to stay, but even let's say that the iddah period, even in now in regular times, let's put this into context now. So scholars also interpreted that even if the iddah period of a woman is 4 months and 10 days, it is that now a man can, before his death, he can write in the will that my wife will stay in my house for up to a year. He can write that. Okay, so and if she wants to leave, and why again, what was the hikmah of a woman staying in her husband's house? Because it's a great shock for her when her husband has passed away, and she has her memories related to in the house. So she should stay in that place for 4 months and 10 days. And no one can force her out of, no in-laws or no one can force her out of. And if she wishes to continue to stay longer, she can do so. Okay, and a man can also write in his wasiyah that before in his will, before passing away, that my wife can stay in this house for up to a year and no one can force her out. Okay, and so the ayah continues, فَإِنْ خَرَجْنَا فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ. And if they choose to leave, meaning they want to leave, then there is you are not accountable for what they decide. Okay, so ما فعلنا في أنفسهن من معروف, meaning they can after this iddah period. So here, for example, if after 4 months and 10 days the woman wants to leave, that's okay. And if she wants to stay for another, as long as she wants, she can stay. Okay, so here So this ayah is mansukh again in terms of like the overruling of, instead of the iddah period being 1 year, it is 4 months and 10 days. But because this was revealed uh before the iddah period was changed, hence this was the hukum at that time. Because again, in Jahiliyyah times, the waiting period for a woman to get remarried again was 1 year. So this is telling the believers that if she has to stay in the house for 1 year, then let her stay. Okay. Wallahu Azizul Hakim. Allah is almighty and all wise. Okay. So kadhalika, here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ayah number 241, وَلِلْمُطَلَّقَاتِ مَتَاعٌ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Okay. Reasonable provisions must be made for the divorced women. حَقًّا عَلَى الْمُتَّقِينَ, a duty on those mindful of Allah. So here this is almost like after learning all of the ayat about divorce, this ayah is like a general ruling or a summary for all of the women that are divorced. Okay, that get divorced, are divorced by from the husband. Okay, then they deserve a mata means some kind of uh, some kind of necessary support. That is mata. Any kind of necessary support that a husband can provide for the woman. Okay, so here حقا على المتقين, and this is obligatory for the one who has taqwa of Allah. So in general, any man who is divorcing a wife, his wife should give her something. Okay, because the person of taqwa is a giver. Okay, and even after the and we even after the mahar, right, the man gives a mahar in nikah, right? But other than the mahar, then the man should also, if he divorces the woman, then he should also give her something else. Because why? This is a sign of the one who has taqwa, who's connected with Allah, who is conscious of Allah. And the one haqqan al muttaqeen also means that the one who has taqwa will do so. And if you connect this with the previous ayah about salah, if you see this way, how beautifully the ayat are arranged. Before the ayah about salah, we were learning about taqwa. Then we learned about the protection, hafidu ala salawat, protect your salawat. And now again, taqwa is mentioned. So what do we learn? Taqwa is only increases when a person has connection with Allah. And the way to connect with Allah, the best connection is salah. Salah increases the taqwa of a person. And the one who has taqwa will also be a giver. Regardless of any situation, even the man has divorced the wife, still, and mata includes clothing or necessities of life. And here Allah subhanahu says in the next ayah number 242, كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ آيَاتِهِ. And this is how Allah makes His revelation clear to you, meaning He clarifies the ayat for us. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. So perhaps you will understand. Aql is allowed. Intellect is required for the understanding of the laws of deen. And we should use the best part of our intellect in understanding of the deen. Many of the people, many of us, many of the people around, we have a lot of knowledge of this world. But what is the true knowledge? The true knowledge, the knowledge of Allah's deen. And the true aql is to use it in understanding the laws. Sometimes people are very diligent in understanding difficult things of this dunya, which is great, right? Knowledge of both deen and dunya are, important. But when a person, but sometimes when it comes to laws of Allah, the person is unable to understand. The person is unable to invest the time to understand it. So here it's important, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to put effort in understanding these ayat about Allah, because Allah has yubayyinu, He has clarified it. He made it so clear for us to understand each. And as we've learned, you would admire how amazing how beautifully each and every scenario. What happens if, what happens if there is two people are divorced, but they have a baby and she's nursing? What if she's not nursing? What should you do then? In that scenario, what if two people get before there's a talaq involved before the woman moves into the house? What should a person do in terms of the mahar and all that? So in each every situation, every possible situation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has discussed it, and this is has revealed it, and it is only for the benefit of people. And a lot of the times, fitna happens, and a lot of evil happens, and a lot of injustice is committed because people do not have the knowledge of the ayat. People do not know. And if a person was to look at these ayat, these are Allah giving the right to the woman, the protection of women's right. That in any situation, she should be compensated for it, right? The emotions, the those things that are involved, right? And we looked at the previous ayat, how beautiful that do not even play with someone's emotions as such, right? Do not send her proposal when she's in the state of idda. She's on a waiting and she has lost her husband. Do not send her proposal at that time. Let it finish. Do not make promises. Telling men, do not make promises that after idda is over, I will marry you. No, don't make such. So all of these things are for protection of a person's rights, right? And the one who really understands the book, there will be no injustice committed on their part, right? And then the next part, okay, this is a change into the subject, and this is talking about, we'll be looking into the Bani Israel and their state of affairs, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them and how they disobeyed Allah. Okay, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives an example. Alam tara ila kharaju min diyarihim. Have you, O Prophet? So this is talking to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then through him to us. And he's Alam tara is like a way of drawing attention, right? Like this is a kind of to draw an attention of a person, is Allah's way of, the different way he uses to address to address his servants. Okay, so إِلَى الَّذِينَ خَرَجُوا مِن دِيَارِهِمْ. Have you not seen, O Prophet, those who fled their homes, who left their homes, and how many of them were there? وَهُمْ أُلُوفٌ حَذَرَ الْمَوْتِ. Sorry, and they were in thousands because of the fear of death. Who are these people? Okay, some scholars say that these people were Bani Israel. Okay, and more important here is to notice the action, and not because specifically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not say Bani Israel, right? But so important fact is when the subject is not mentioned, the focus should be the action, right? So those who left their houses, their actions are mentioned, their name is not mentioned, because the sometimes when people look at, when someone's name is also a very important thing to think about, right? When people names are mentioned, or a qawm name is mentioned, or a nation's name is mentioned, what happens usually is human beings who are listening to it, they associate that actions with them. Oh, they were like this, they were these people. No, I'm not like that. These people, thousands or hundreds of years ago, they used to be like that. So here, instead of the people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is drawing towards their action. But khair, it was said that either these people, they left their houses in thousands, right? And meaning this is something very, very serious, because a home is a place of refuge. A home is where a person finds sukoon. After all the tiredness and the hard work and all the different things, when a person comes home, they feel comfort in their house. And the only way when a person is that challenged, or the situation is that serious, only then they have to leave their house. So meaning they were challenged with something serious. Now, what is the serious thing? The serious thing here is that either it is said that either it was typhoid, meaning it was a disease which caused them to leave the area, or it was that this could be the Bani Israel who were attacked by their neighboring states, and these Bani Israel, they were defeated, and 34,000 were killed. And the people who 34,000 people of their people were killed, and the leftover people, those who were left, they were too scared that they might be killed too, so they left their house. So what happens uh when a person is in the fear of death? What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? That as they left their house, فَقَالَ لَهُمُ اللَّهُ, Allah said to them, mutu, die. Allah caused them to die. They left their house because of the fear of death, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused them to die. So, very important thing, and this is a very, very important, a very thought-provoking thing for each one of us, is that no one can escape death. Death can come without any reason. Death, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need a sabab. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need a cause for death to occur. That can happen at any time. And hazar al maut, fear of death. And again, the fear of death, the fear of enemy is a lot in the hearts of a munafiq. Right? In the hearts of the one, because the iman of the one who is in a state of hypocrisy, their iman is weak. And a munafiq is always in a state of fear. And in Surah Al-Ahzab, we're learning in one of my classes with my sheikh, is that in Surah Al-Ahzab, what happened was that in the Battle of Trench, when they were digging the Khandaq, right? They were digging the trench. The munafiqeen, they were always in a state of fear. And their fear is even when the enemy leaves, they're still in the fear that the enemy will come back. Like, for example, putting into context nowadays, is that let's say something happened, and a person is fined, right? They got into a fine, they got into this thing, they're constantly in the fear, or I will get fined again, or I'll get into mess again. And they're always fearful of people, basically the fear of people, constant. But the one who has tawakkul of Allah, yes, a believer is prepared, but they have tawakkul on Allah, that everything happens by the izn, by the permission of Allah. So this hazar al-maut, this is the fear of death, caused them to leave their house, but then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused them to die. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Jum'ah, Inna al-maut alladhi, the death you are running, alladhi tafirruna minhu fa innahu mulaqikum. The death you are running away from will inevitably come to you. And we see that a person's time and location, a place of death, is decided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever, it may not be that the person will die in the place that they're living. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cause a person to go to the place, to travel to the place of death. And there they will die. Sometimes it so happens that if a person's death is not written, then even if they're involved in a big disaster, in a big war or a crash or something, they're the ones who make it out alive. Because when the death is not written, it will not come. And when the death is written, so here the point is here is that the believer doesn't fear death. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because these people left because of the fear of death, Allah caused them to die, showing them this, that you cannot escape death. Just physically changing this place that you're at or getting yourself out of a situation does not mean that the death will not chase you, or the death will not come to you, because this is from the hukum of Allah. Allah can cause death any time and for any no reason or any reason. Okay, And then Allah subhanahu says, ثُمَّ أَحْيَاهُمْ. And then He caused them to become live, or to give them life. So this can have two meanings here. Either they became alive after Allah subhanahu gave them death, He gave them life back, just as a lesson to learn, to see that Allah is the one who gives life and death. So do not try to, you can run anywhere, but you can't run away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another meaning of this could be that because later on the Bani Israel repented and stuff, so then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the haya means success. So maybe the future generations got success. Inna Allah lazu fadlin ala nasi, and surely Allah is ever bountiful to humanity. Meaning that the fadl of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing favor over human beings at all times. He's giving them blessings over blessings over blessings. And Allah, and what are the fadl of Allah? The fadail. Sure. Okay. What are the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to people are: number one, for example, the health, happiness, safety, security, food. These are all the fadl of Allah. Okay. Even kids, right? Even when babies cannot speak, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has still given the fadl. Even when they can't speak, they are being fed. They're not asking, I want, like, they're not speaking, right? I want food, or I want this. They are being fed. Even when they are little and they don't have, again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, because of the way they are, and the mahabba and the love that Allah puts in the hearts of parents and people around for the little ones, right? This is the fadl of Allah, that they are being fed and taken care of and protected without even them saying. And similarly, when someone is older, had reached an old age, usually what happens, people become upset and negative that, I'm old, I'm unable to do this and that and so on. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes care of people. Maybe the children, they're a person's own children when they've reached the old age, are not the ones, but because of Allah puts mercy in other people's heart, they're still taken care of. This is the fadl of Allah. When Allah does fadail, these favors on people, وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَشْكُرُونَ. But most of the people are ungrateful. When someone wants something and they don't get it exactly the way they want, then people people become ungrateful. Okay, and what happens is that fadl, remembering the fadl of Allah, increases a shukr in a person, gratitude. Here Allah is saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given, and here specifically bringing it here in this ayah, what does this mean? What is it pointing to? It's pointing towards, even if you look at the Bani Israel, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them so many blessings and a kingdom and prophets. So many prophets came from them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved them from Fir'aun. He arranged for their food, for their shelter. All amanna wa salwa, everything was given. Food from the heavens were arranged for them when they were traveling. So, and they were, but they constantly disobeyed Allah and became among the ungrateful ones. Right? When food was given from the sky, the manna and salwa, then they were like, why only two kinds of food? We want more different kinds of food. We want ginger, we want lentils, we want cucumber, we want variety. So this is ingratitude. And when a person is ungrateful, what happens? Ingratitude leads to the reduction of blessings, and then became the downfall of the Bani Israel, that their blessings reduced. Right here, if you put it in this context, that they lost and they were fearing and running away from their life, that shows that this is as an azab of Allah. They were given so many blessings, and they were ungrateful, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took the blessings away. So this is important reminder for all of us, is that gratitude increases the ni'mah. The one who is grateful to Allah, Allah increases their blessings. The one uh, who shows ingratitude, Allah destroys the blessings of that person. Okay, so important note lesson for each one of us is that to be grateful sometimes, even when we are not getting something. This is a fadl of Allah, because maybe getting that particular thing might cause more problems for us. So even this is a fadl of Allah that He is given us. He has restricted certain things for us. The next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. And fight in the cause of Allah. And what fight is there? فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, in the cause of Allah. Here, the Muslims are being addressed in this state. Muslims were in Mecca, right? And they were being persecuted, and for that reason, they migrated to Medina. This is at the time, and Surah Al-Baqarah is a Madani surah, right? It's a surah revealed after Hijrah. So after migration, this this ayah was revealed, is that when the Muslims were in Mecca, they were asked not to fight. They were asked not to fight because they were not ready for it. They were not in a state. Sometimes a person is not strong enough to fight the enemy, to take up the challenge, and they have to build themselves. And here, only when they moved to Medina, the Muslims were commanded to protect and to use self-defense, or to allow to fight for the protection of the deen. So in this case, but in both the scenarios, they tried to escape the persecution, and when they came to Medina, they were new challenges. They were faced with new challenges from the Jews, from those neighboring people, and also from the Quraysh. So what we learn from this is that this is a human being's life. This is a reflection of human. Makkah and Medina are a reflection of a human being's life, is that the problems and the difficulties will not go away. They will change. The problems might change. The kind of problems will change, but they will not go away, because that's just dunya. The state of dunya is, it's a place of test and test upon test. So when one, maybe for a little, the Muslims had peace for a little bit of time, and then they're faced with new challenges. Right? But what is the state of a believer during a challenge? They are still grateful to Allah. They do not show, coming back to the previous ayah. They remember the fadl. What is the greatest blessing? Is the blessings of the Sahabas did not become pessimistic or upset or sad, because now when they were, it was not all flowers and comfort in Medina. Some of the Sahabas had to eat leaves when they moved. They had to leave all their belongings. Imagine leaving their businesses and houses behind. So it's not always that a believer, people have this idea that when a person is more religious, or they convert to Islam or revert to Islam, then everything will become like a walk in the park. And that is not the case. Yes, what blossoms is a person's heart, right? A person's heart becomes content that this is the purpose of their life. Their heart is connected with Allah, and that is content, and no matter what challenges they are faced, their connection with Allah becomes stronger, and that what makes them happy. They know that Allah's promise is true. The victory will be of the believers, and this you can apply to every situation in our life. No matter what the situation is, if a person is connected with Allah, is knows if even if they face a new challenges every day, they should remind themselves that if I have my connection with Allah, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make me victorious, and I will come out of it in flying colors. And most importantly, the akhirah is getting secured. So these tests of this dunya would mean, or these problems and these small things that come here and there would be negligent in that way. So here Allah Subhanahu says, fight and stand up for the deen of Allah, and know, wa'alamu, أن الله سميع عليم. Know that Allah is all hearing and all knowing, meaning Allah knows the state of your heart. Allah knows the state of your struggles. So fight, so stand up in the cause of Allah. And even if and your sacrifice, and here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, sacrifice, or even if a person has to sacrifice their life for the deen, then they should. Because that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding. And the Sahabas and the Prophet and the Sahabas, they were not shy of doing that because they knew the value of, even if their life was gone in this world, then they would be martyrs in the next world. They'll be considered among the martyrs and it will be permanent. So what if they are temporary difficulties, temporary roadblocks in this dunya? How much is a person going to live in this dunya anyways? 50 years, 60 years, 70, 80, right? But that life that is permanent, a person is preparing for that. A person is putting their effort for that. So it's a reminder for each one of us that sacrifice and fight in the wind, strive in the way of Allah, right? For us, for us will be to strive in the way of Allah here, and whether it's with our physical body, with our effort, with our mal, and we will learn about the mal in the next ayah, inshallah, in the next lesson, right? Here, next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to strive with our mal. Okay, so inshallah, bismillah, we will be concluding our class for today. Here, very important lessons to derive from today's lesson, from today's class. An important thing is the that death is inevitable. And a believer is not scared of death because they're happy to meet their Rabb. But a one who has weak iman, they're always scared. And in terms of that too, a person can also think of difficulties, scared of other people, right? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to bring something, He will bring it. So undue fear of something will not, would only make a person more ungrateful to Allah. You're constantly fearing something. Constant fear is just going to increase a person's ingratitude towards Allah. It's going to increase the anxiety and depression and all of these things. Rather, put your reliance in Allah. So since we're talking about that, it's a good opportunity to introduce that, inshallah, bismillah. On October 26th, we have a workshop, sorry, education workshop, which is called The Final Journey. And this, inshallah, is it will be a fall workshop where we will be covering important things about the topics related to the kind of death that we should prepare for, death of a believer versus a disbeliever, what happens, the life of grave, what happens after that, and what are the things that we can do in this life that can bring light in our grave and light in the hereafter. So inshallah, we will be sharing the flyer and the details. And so I encourage everyone to sign up for this workshop to prepare more and have more awareness of our end. So this workshop is based on, it's on death and then life after death. All things pertaining to that, inshallah. It will be on October 26th and Saturday from 10 to 2 p.m. And we'll be sharing details. Also, again, we were collecting for the floods in Bangladesh. So we will be closing the cause today. So or today or tomorrow, inshallah. So please put your share towards, strive with your wealth towards it. And also, if anyone would like to contribute for the workshop in terms of the printing of the books or the food or anything of that sort, you can also put your share into that, and will be a sadaqah jariyah for any person. So this is it is open to everyone, the workshop, from youth to people of 7 and above. So we have classes that are pertaining to younger kids, and also sisters and older sisters and brothers, inshallah. So and lastly, also we have brothers Hifz and Tajweed program that happens every Saturday from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. 11 a.m. sorry. And there is online option and in-person also option. In-person is at the Rauda Musalla. So you can contact us again or visit our website. It's available there as well, information. for that. Before we close, would like to listen to a few of our reflections from our sisters here. So if anyone would like to share, please, you can unmute yourself and share what you learned from today's class.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Like I learned that it's important to use like the aql that we're given because aql is a gift and knowledge is also a gift. So it's important to not only use like our ability to think for like the worldly things, but also to gain knowledge for the akhirah that can benefit us.
Yes, yes. And being able to, you can have a lot of knowledge, but how to apply the knowledge, the wisdom, the hikmah is given from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? To be able to gain knowledge is one thing, and to apply it using putting your intellect, and intellect, part of intellect is to ponder. Like when we learn, we should spend our time after class thinking about the ayat. Okay, I learned this. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say this thing this way? And you go outside, you're thinking about the ayat. Maybe next day, the day after, you think, you make more connections. This is using your aql to comprehend the ayat. Okay, anyone else? Yusra, Isha, anyone else would like to share?
Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I think on the topic of gratitude, when you were talking about that, it's very important. And I think we tend to be like grateful for just like the big things that we receive in life. But I think it's also important to be grateful for like the smaller things as well. Like maybe the variety of food you have or the good weather that we receive. So I think this just keeps us in the remembrance of Allah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, if when a person is grateful for small things in life, then they don't need big things, because when big things come too, then they will not be grateful. If we always think that we get this, we'll be happy. We get this, we'll be more grateful. No. When a person is grateful for small things, then only they will be grateful for bigger things in life. And getting more things in life will not guarantee gratitude. Where the person who is in a state of ingratitude will remain ungrateful regardless of whatever happens in their life. Right. Anyone else would like to share? You can also type up or you can unmute yourself. It's good to share reflections with each other because it helps other people too. You know. So it's time for Maghrib. So will be ending our class, and inshallah we'll see you next week. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Wa alaikum
وعليكم
assalam wa
السلام ورحمة
rahmatullah.
الله.